Good morning, everyone. This is Jeffe Kennedy, author of fantasy romance and romantic fantasy. Here with my first cup of coffee, which I don't know, is tasting kind of weak to me these days. I don't know what's wrong with me. Maybe my taster is off. Today is Thursday, April 8th. See, I knew. I'm getting my head back. I'm double checking. But yes, I'm correct. Actually, I have writer coffee this morning. For those of you who have been listening for a long time, you will be um, I don't know what reaction you will have. You will perk up your little ears, that I am doing writer coffee today. At long last reconvening. We did do some on Zoom, and I toyed with trying to do the video as the commute podcast like I used to do. Uh, and I just didn't see that working very well. It's like, do I really want to like video myself, like have the laptop in the car next to me? I don't know. Maybe I could do it. Maybe I could do Zencaster via the phone and like prop it on the dashboard, but I don't know. Is that something anyone really wants to see? I don't know. I think it's weird how there's like a certain subset of social media videos that are deliberately set up to make them look like casual and authentic. And one of them is someone being in their car. And it's interesting to me. It's like, so what is it about someone being in their car? It makes it look like it's off the cuff and authentic. It's just like um, the the faux fashion shoots where they have like they have the photo of the woman standing there holding up her phone and doing a selfie of herself in the dress, like we're supposed to think that this is a selfie, except that it's very clearly like a studio shot, right, of the person standing. There are cameras and perfect lighting and all of this, and she's set up to be looking like she's doing the selfie. And it's funny because I commented on social media a while back that I was really over the faux fashion selfie. And Ilona Andrews jumped on me right away, and she said, "You mean like this?" And sent me a photo that she had taken of her daughter, like doing a fashion shoot, and like she thought that somehow I had seen her posting pictures of her like doing fashion model type shots of her daughter, because she said this is just something mothers and daughters like to do, and I'm like, well, first of all, I hadn't seen that, so everything's not about you. Tried to say that in a nice way, and I said, and that's not even a selfie. um, but it was a funny thing because it was like, no, just chill. It's so funny with social media and the I don't know, the lens that we get with it, that it's I don't know, sort of distorts our view of our importance in the world. I mean, maybe we all have a distorted view of our importance of the world in the world anyway, but it's like when you see somebody subtweet or remark on something and say, I just hate it when people do this, and you think, oh, is it about me? Do they mean me? And I'm sure, like 99% of the time, they do not mean you. I do it too. I do it too. I think some of you saw an exchange we had on Facebook a while back when Mel Jean Brooke posted about a book that she was reading and DNF'd because of something that the heroine did. And, she had just enough details in there that, it's like, oh, Jackson wants to come out. You hear that? He gets in my office window behind me and meows. All right, I'll go get him. We'll do the pause. Okay. He decided to stay out front. We may yet see him coming around. Does anyone remember what I was talking about? Social media, I guess. Oh, Melgene. Yeah. And I immediately commented on there, whew, not me, can't be my book. And like 3 other authors. I know Grace chimed in. A bunch of us were all like, "Oh, not me." And, uh, and I was really it feels silly, but we all worry about that. And then I was really gratified by all the other people who chimed in, who were saying, it really helps me feel better to know that these authors I really admire, immediately wonder if it's them. It never goes away, that insecurity. And I've addressed this before, but I think that, and I could say this now while I'm feeling very secure in a secure place. I dreamed about Jack last night, you guys. I was dreaming about Jack a lot, which was really a fun dream to have. Um, I really love that cover. Have it up on my desktop right now. And while I love how Stella looks on that cover, it's Jack's expression that is just so perfect to me. But yeah, while I'm in a confident place, it's an easy thing to say. But um, I think that the insecurity is part of it because it's the constantly questioning ourselves and wanting to improve. So let's see. What all do I have to talk about? I did get the manuscript back last night. I haven't touched it yet, but I should be able to get through the proofs today. Make all of those corrections, add in a couple of lines that I wanted to add, send it off for formatting. And then tomorrow we are off to Arizona to continue the gallivanting. Going to go visit my mother and stepfather and spend a few days in the sun there. Although spring is really springing here. It's going to be windy though, so we're just as well out of it. But everything's starting to bud out. The cactus are lifting. It's very interesting because in the wintertime, the cactus just kind of get dehydrated and deflated and they lay flat. And they really respond to heat. Where most plants respond to moisture, they respond to moisture too, but it's mostly heat. And as the days start to warm up, their paddles fill and they lift and they reach for the sun. Uh, it's a different kind of spring, and it's very cool. It's fun to look at. I like to think about different kinds of landscapes. So my plan is we're going to drive tomorrow, and then I'm going to do the uploading from Tucson. So I decided there was no reason I couldn't do it there. So that gives my formatter a little bit more time to do it, even though he said he could get it back to me tomorrow. I thought, well, that's silly to wait around for that, and when we could be using the day to drive. So so that will do. We'll be on our way for that. Um, I have been rereading. I think I mentioned the Kushil Scion trilogy. I'm almost done with Kushil's Justice. And I remembered not really liking that book the first time. And I was even looking at my hardback copy of it and wondering if I didn't skip the middle. I remember there was this whole thing that happened in the story that I didn't like, and I may have skipped it. Because there's a lot of this book I don't remember at all. And I remembered liking book 3 better, but it's been a while. Again, 20 years. But there is a there are a few plot twists that in this that are a little too convenient. Whereas, that first trilogy, the Kushil's, what is it? Kushil's Avatar, Kushil's Dart. I don't remember what the trilogy is called, but you guys know which one I mean. Was really meticulously interwoven. This one just feels, I don't know, somewhat more contrived in ways. And it's interesting as a writer, to observe why it feels contrived to me. In some ways, this book too feels like The Two Towers. It feels like a bridge book in a trilogy. Um, and I think that can happen I mean, I'm still enjoying it. I think she's a brilliant writer. So, caveat, caveat. Uh, but I think that can happen when you have a very strong idea for like a trilogy or a series of where it's going to begin and how it's going to end up. And that the middle book ends up being throwing rocks at the hero and heroine. Because we talk about that with the 3 act structure, though. Water and sanitation people going by don't often see that trick. Um, that one way of talking about it is that you get your protagonist up a tree, throw rocks at them, get your protagonist down. And that's the basics of the 3 act structure. And I've talked about before how the first act is the first 25%, the third act is the last 25%, and act 2, the throwing rocks at the protagonists, is the middle 50%. So if you did this over the course of 3 books, that means that book 1 is going to be getting your protagonist up a tree and throwing rocks at them. And the final book is throwing the last of the rocks and getting them out of the tree, which makes the middle book can tend to be all throwing rocks at them. And that's a bit how this book feels. And I refer to the Two Towers, which isn't always fair because the Lord of the Rings trilogy was originally apparently 1 book, or was it 2? But they ended up splitting it into 3. And so there's the Lord of the Rings, the Two Towers, the Return of the King. I think I got that right. And the Two Towers is frequently criticized for being what they call a bridge book, that it's sort of there to connect the beginning and the end, and that not that much happens. And there are people who love that book, and they'll say, well, I love it because of the ends. And it's like, well, yeah, some of the rocks are really cool. Yeah, if you have super cool rocks, you can maybe carry it off. But it's interesting because in this book, in Kushiel's Justice, there is a repeated theme of people telling the protagonist, Imriel, that he has terrible luck, and he blames things on his terrible luck. And after a while, it almost begins to sound like, and please forgive me, Jacqueline Carey, we've never met because, I'm not worthy or what have you. I don't mean to sound critical, except that I think that this is a thing where the author's voice intrudes a little bit. And I think if you, as an author, begin to say things like, oh, boy, this character sure has terrible luck, that's why all these terrible things happen to them, that you're attempting to compensate for a flaw in how you're contriving to throw rocks at this person. Because there's a scene that she works up to that she very clearly, I feel like she was working towards. And I absolutely, I often think of these things as like if I were beta reading or critiquing what I would have said. And I agree, this scene absolutely had to happen, that this was a logical conclusion to his arc, that this particular point of pain had to be touched. I may sneeze. Thank you. You guys noticed I've been sneezing in pairs lately? I'm no longer threes. I don't know what that means. Maybe it doesn't mean anything. So, yeah, I lost my train of thought with sneezing. So, contriving things and how this point of pain had to happen. But the way that it happened went counter to character. She had to contrive a scene where he did not react as he normally would have reacted. And I didn't believe it. And that's what I would have said as a beta reader. And of course, once the book is published, you have to let these things go. But it's like, well, yeah. You, I don't know. It's hard. I mean, it can be hard. Sometimes you really do have to contrive these things, and it's not easy. But I think that's, I guess my point is, I possibly have. I want to say my point, and I do have one, but we never know if I exactly have a point. My point right now is, I believe that that's something to look for. That if you are resorting to something like people telling you, your character, that, boy, they sure have terrible luck, or dang, isn't that an amazing coincidence? That's a sign. That's a cue to yourself that that you maybe need to dig a little deeper, that you need to find a way to make it be not a result of coincidence or luck. And it's not easy. It's really not easy. And there are such things as coincidences and luck in real life, right? But the thing is you can, when we say truth is stranger than fiction, it's very true that there are things in life that we don't have to justify, whereas we always have to make it make sense in fiction. Uh, and alas for that, but so it goes. That's part of the challenge, right? So I am going to go to Writer Coffee and go on my way. Uh, I will not be posting tomorrow, and I will not be posting Monday. So I will talk to you all on Tuesday. I'll remind you that First Cup of Coffee is part of the Frolic Media Podcast Network, and you will find more podcasts you love at frolic.media/podcast. Talk to you all Tuesday. Have a great weekend. Take care. Bye bye.